I had to come to that crossroads of testifying to the uniqueness because I'm the only one from my family, my mother's side and my father's side, the only one. My father had 10 siblings. My mother had 6 with their multitudes of children. I'm the only one who's a Christian. Everybody else is still steeped in their own tradition. And when my Amma died, I had to go to Visakhapatnam. I had to be there for a week. And then I was fortunate enough to be there. I left to go to Bangkok for a couple of days. When I was in Bangkok, my father said, Ochira, I don't think she's going to make it. And I went back to India. Our last day when I saw her in the ICU, I kept telling my mother, Amma, why don't you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? You've now come to the end of your journey. There is only one God. He is truth. He is life. Just as Brother Stephen said, testify to the light. Speak that word, that light comes alive, that truth prevails. And even the last day, ICU alone, 11 o'clock at night, I was telling her, and completely sedated, she opened her eyes. She did not accept Christ, but my mother said this to me in Telugu, Alisipoyanra. And at that time, my earthly commitment to a mother took over. And I told her, I said, Ilpo, don't worry about it. My brother was going to come the next day. By the time he came, she had passed. Ilpo. And I wept that night because my mother never accepted Christ. But I had a bigger problem on my hands. I grew up in a Brahmin family. At the age of 13, I went through all of the ceremonial rituals that allow me to light the fire in the absence of my brother. And if he is there, I have to sit next to them. Next day, the pujari was going to come. My father and all, I come from a high priest background. So at about 5 o'clock the next morning, I called my father and I said, Pop, I cannot participate in the funeral. He said, what are you talking about? He says, what do you mean you can't participate? I said, I follow a risen Savior. The tomb of the God I worship is empty. When Jesus Christ came into my life, he changed every aspect. I have loved my wife better because I love her through his eyes and I see a forgiven woman. I love my son through his eyes. I see a forgiven child. Dad, I cannot participate in your rituals for 2 reasons. One is it will dishonor my God. Second, your wife, my mom, never believed in this. So if I participate in rituals for the sake of rituals, I would actually blaspheme your tradition as well. Now, my father did not have anything to challenge me on because that's true. If I just participated in the rituals for the sake of participating, I would be blaspheming their rituals because I don't believe them. And my brother came dutifully. They shaved his head. They put him all that ceremonial water and all that. And then they drew the line. They said, okay, if you don't want to participate, you have to stand there. Now, I say this now because I have run out of tears. Amalaga I'm tired. I can't cry anymore for this because I remember that day as if it was yesterday. Already 3 years have passed since I had to stand at my mother's funeral and tell the entire gathering. I was standing in jeans and a t-shirt. I said, I can't participate. And my own mother's body is lying there. She loved me dearly. She accepted me as a Christian. She never challenged that. But about 5 minutes before they did anything to her, my father walked across the line and came to me and he gave me a hug. And he simply said, before we do anything to your Amma in the name of our gods, would you mind praying over her in the name of yours? Maybe for the very first time at a funeral that had no Christian element to it, a resurrection prayer was said. I don't know if God heard my prayer. We know the truth. The truth is you have to make a public profession. If you publicly accept him, he will publicly testify to you in front of the Father. I would be a bad witness if I told you that I'm pretty sure I'll see my mother in heaven. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe there are some erudite, sophisticated theologians here who can give me the doctrinal answer. But as a layperson, I jokingly tell people, I haven't been to seminary. I've yet to go to cemetery. But somewhere between womb and tomb, God's given me this joy to preach his risen word. And at my own mother's funeral, here's the prayer I prayed. I said, dear Lord in heaven, you're the only one in the wilderness who can hear me because I trust you. But it is not for the one who is past, which I hope you may have a resurrection prayer against all odds. But for these two I'm holding, they need to know I am not just participating in the rituals for any reason of grandstanding. I want to, at this funeral, testify to your uniqueness. Well, the beauty of that is that evening, many of my cousins went on YouTube and started watching my messages. See, up until then, they were pretty sure I had become a Christian because I came to the West. I'm a first generation Christian. Dr. Ramesh Richard, who some of you know always loves to call me, he says, Krish Dhanam, you're a contagious Christian. I tell people attitudes are contagious. Is yours worth catching? I don't have great gospel knowledge. I don't have great theological brilliance, but I know how to live for him. I know how to love like him. And that's vital. That's important.